World Financial Group offers entrepreneurs from all backgrounds the opportunity to start their own business on a level playing field. Dr. Yana Woodhouse, receiving the WCM Wall Street Pioneer Award by the United Black Wall Street of America, Inc., is one of those entrepreneurs.
I see WFG and TFA as a place where African Americans with an entrepreneurial mindset can flourish. And the bonus, we help families and serve the communities across the country.
To learn more about us, go to worldfinancialgroup.com.
We are the sons and daughters of the soul. We are resilient and forever forward-thinking. We ask for nothing else than the opportunity to live and to create the lives that we were meant to live. We want nothing but an equal chance at options and possibilities. The same possibilities and options to live out our potential as our fellow man. We want to be heard, understood, and expressive in our reality. We are the future. We are the creative. We are here.
This is Kia Rogers, and you're listening to Urbanology with my dad, Tony Rogers, on WHCR 90.3 FM New York.
Good afternoon. Tony Rogers here, your host for Urbanology, the Art of War. And for some of the new listeners, my birth name is William Anthony Rogers. And for many years I taught and I still write about Sun Tzu's classic, The Art of War. So it's somewhat of a play on words, Urbanology, The Art of War. Nevertheless, I hope all is well. We are in the process of going into another season, and we have to prepare. Many people are looking forward for winter. I'm a Juneteenth baby, so I'm not necessarily one that loves cold weather, but nevertheless, I go with the flow. I have the pleasure today to speak to a young lady who has a tremendous responsibility. And when I first saw her, I was shocked because she looks like she could be in college, but she is on top of a very, very large type of initiative. She's the Director of Business Development for the Empire State Development Corporation, ESD. And when I say that with a lot of respect, because most of the business development issues that come out of New York State in some way goes through ESD. So I am very happy that she has taken some time to be on our show. I would like to give a warm welcome to Miss Dalsie Andrade. I think I got that right.
Yes, no, you have it right. Thank you so much, Tony. Much, much appreciated. And let me just say, I'm so happy that we have been able to connect. And I'm looking forward to all the great work that we can do together. And what I'm very, very excited about is sharing more about our New York State MWBE forum that's coming up in October. So I know we'll get there, but thank you so much
We're
for
gonna
having
talk
me.
about that. But before we do that, could you just tell us a little bit about you and what ESD means and what it means to? Well, we'll get to that. Just let's start with you. Tell us about your Dulce.
Okay. Yes, Tony, thank you so much. So a little bit more about me, and just thinking about just my career and just the time that I've basically been in government and nonprofit. But I feel like a lot of people's stories kind of begin with I just kind of fell into it and I've been in it. So I'm also that person. It's something that I kind of fell into once I moved to New York. And then it's actually been with me for 10 plus years now. But when I first started off, I'm going way back when, but in high school, I was very much interested in student government. That was my thing. I feel like, you know, young people have something that they really gravitate towards, and student government was for me. So I did a lot of just internships, you know, within different government offices, with city council persons in Massachusetts. And then it was time to decide what I was going to do after graduation. And I was one of those people that just jumped right ahead into grad school because I was like, you know what, I think this is something that I want, so let me just go ahead and get it done now. So that prompted me to move here to New York City. And then the falling into New York City government, that's really, you know, where it started here. So I started interning at the New York City Department of Small Business Services. So I was with them for about 2 years. And then from there, I transitioned into a lot of different opportunities, some with the MTA, another authority or government entity. And then after graduating from grad school, I went the nonprofit route. So I was at a nonprofit in Bushwick, Brooklyn. Really good experience there, but I knew I wanted something a little bit different. And that position did focus on small business development and economic development. So I'm kind of still in those spaces. So once I kind of decided I wanted to go in a new direction, then I found myself at one of the Workforce One centers. So I was actually at the Workforce One Center that was located years ago on 125th Street in Harlem. And then we moved to the Bronx as well. So I was there for a bit, and then I transitioned to the city's Economic Development Corporation. So kind of the equivalent to the state's Empire State Development.
Right.
And then from there, I kind of went back to our young people. So just even talking about my experience, I do think about young people, their exposure to different careers, different internship opportunities, and ultimately different jobs. So I ended up at the New York City Department of Youth and Community Development, where I did a lot of employer engagement. So really thinking about business owners and how we can connect young people to opportunities at their companies and organizations. And then from there, I think I took the employer engagement piece, and now I'm here at the New York State Division of Minority and Women's Business Development, which is part of Empire State Development, ESD. And we're doing a lot of great work here just in terms of supporting and also empowering minority and women-owned businesses. And I'm just excited to continue in the space of nonprofit and government, and really continuing also in that space of public service. I feel like whether government or nonprofit, it's always been that space of serving. So I'm continuing there and happy to be working for New York State.
Well, what are some of the responsibilities, which are, I'm sure, major as a director of business development? I mean, what are some of the things that take up your busy schedule?
Yeah, for sure. So again, here at the Division of Minority and Women's Business Development, Our mission, the key goal of all of the work that we do throughout the multiple units within the division, it's all about eliminating those barriers to opportunities. And when we say opportunities, we're really thinking about state contracting opportunities specifically for MWBE, so for minority and women business enterprises. That's really our main focus. And for our division, we are very much led by executive law in New York State, Article 15A, which does revolve around MWBEs and how the state is making sure that MWBEs have these opportunities, these economic development opportunities that ultimately build their businesses. But I think it also goes beyond that. A lot of times we just focus on that opportunity, the money, and growing the business, but also part of that is building that generational wealth as well. So that's something that we always have in the back of our mind when we are working on this mission. So in terms of business development, we're very much focused on providing the information, the resources that small businesses, MWBEs, need in order to gain access to contracting opportunities. So that ranges from, having one-on-one with businesses, really guiding them through different resources that they can use in order to obtain these contracting opportunities. So that's responding to RFPs, responding to bid proposals. So we do have our one-on-ones. Also, every month we do host webinars that touch on various topics that really focus on growth capacity building for your business. And all of the webinars are always posted for registration on our division webpage. So you could just go ahead and Google New York State Division of Minority and Women's Business Development, and our page will come up, and in the calendar you can always register. So we do a lot of work around event planning for businesses and really making sure that we are very intentional about the information that we are sharing with businesses and making sure that it makes sense for the MWBE community throughout New York State. Sometimes even me, I fall into this a lot of times working in New York City. Sometimes when you think of New York, you think just about New York City, but there are the 10 regions here in New York State. So we are very, very much really cognizant of, this large state that we have and all of the small businesses that encompass New York State. Another thing that we also do, which is kind of a lead up to our New York State MWBE Forum. Every year we host what we call regional expos. So you could think of these as small conferences that are happening throughout the regions. So whether you are a business in New York City and Long Island, or you're a business in North Country, Mohawk Valley, we are hosting these events that really center the conversation around contracting. So we actually work very closely with our agencies and authorities in New York State to present information to MWBEs. And what we also hone in on is the relationship building piece. That is extremely, extremely important. Once you are able to build those relationships, your access to opportunities grow even further, even when we're talking about access to information. So that's one convening that we always want to make sure we are bringing to our MWBEs. And also out of our business development unit, we have programs. So we provide programming that helps businesses in various ways. So we do have two programs right now. One of them is called the Business Growth Accelerator Program. If anyone is interested, the program is right on our webpage, and you can get some more information there. But that program is relaunching, and specifically it is for construction-based businesses, whether you are a construction consultant or an actual construction services company. We are providing business curriculum, mentorship, and access to contracting opportunities for businesses that are signing up. And then we also have, lastly, our Mentor Protege program. So this is a program that is incorporated into New York State agency and authority bid opportunities, where prime contractors are able to work directly in a mentor-mentee relationship with our MWBEs. So it's about gaining not just access to a work opportunity, but also being able to have a prime contractor as a mentor throughout the process. So Tony, also say there's a lot of different things going on in the division. There's a lot of new things as well that I haven't even touched on yet. I'm sure we'll get to that.
Well,
All about our businesses.
I'm listening to you. I'm impressed. And it's funny. I was laughing as you were talking because before we came on, you seemed a little, well, I can't really do this the way I would like to do it, and you have done an excellent job. I don't know why you, but it's good, to feel that you need to make sure that things are the way they're supposed to be. But actually, you answered all of the questions. I, I was going to ask you, which is also good. I understand why you are where you are, and you've moved around enough to, I guess, have a pretty good understanding uh, from the ground up as to some of the issues that obviously now you are in charge and trying to deal with and trying to cope. And that's very important. Again, I mean, you were talking. He looked like someone just came out of high school, so I was wondering. I said, "How is she going to do this?" But now I see that you you're very, very qualified to do all of this stuff. Even though I'm sure that it's a yeoman's job that you have. We we have been working with MWBEs for a very long time. One of the, as I had mentioned to you before, even when David Addison was governor, he actually conducted a survey, or actually a study, to actually prove what many people knew but did not have it in front of them as relates to the disparities between contracts and different types of allocations of funds that went to quote unquote women in business and minorities. And when Governor Cuomo came into office, one of his campaign pledges was to make sure that he addressed that issue. And to his court credit, he did. Dasney was doing a lot of work in Albany on MWBEs at one time, and then the Cuomo administration, under the leadership as was MWBEs, Alfonso David, started to really put something into it that I believe has built. And the conference before the pandemic went from, we at one point, all the participants in the MWBE program were in one room in a cafeteria. And now it's a major event. Hundreds and hundreds of people from all across the state are coming. Is this the first major event like this that you have been faced with being on top of? And how does that feel?
Yeah, and Tony, thank you so much. Yes, I was just like, I don't know if I'm prepared and ready, but I guess you are.
You're doing fine. Matter of fact, you're more prepared than some people who claim that they are professionals and do this all of the time. You're one of the best interviews I've had from the state, including some, I won't call names, but nevertheless, go ahead.
All right, but actually, Tony, this is the second year that I am participating in the forum, and yes, it is a huge, huge endeavor. I don't know if folks are aware, but the New York State MWBE Forum is the largest MWBE forum in the nation, so in the United States. We do have thousands of attendees, and one thing that we're doing similar to last year is making the event hybrid. I feel like since COVID, we're now living in this kind of new environment where, making sure our events are also virtual is a key piece. So like last year, it is a hybrid event this year for the forum. And the forum, just so folks are aware, is happening October 6th and 7th. So the first week of October, October 6th and 7th. And I just want to direct folks to nysmwbeforum.org for anyone who is interested in purchasing tickets for the forum. But there's a lot of exciting and new parts of the forum that I'm happy to talk through as well. But yeah, we're expecting quite a bit of people, especially for the in-person. For folks who are interested in attending in person, those tickets are selling really quickly. Just because we do have a limitation just in terms of in-person tickets. So one thing I would say for folks in the audience who are interested in attending in person, it is going to be at the Albany Capitol Center. Again, October 6th and 7th, and I would highly recommend that you purchase in-person tickets as soon as you can.
And believe me, not only that, if you're coming from, let's say, New York, there are other things that you need to look at as far as hotel rooms and the like, because you have people coming from all over. And what is really, and I'm sure that this will continue, what is the important thing is that you get a chance to talk to people who can make decisions. And it's not always the way that goes. A lot of times you have layers of people before, but there are a lot of CEOs, presidents, and people who actually make a decision. So if you compare, you have a tremendous opportunity not only to meet people that you would probably on a regular basis, but also to I've seen many people with contracts. So it's something that is very important. It has had its ups and downs, as you know, as it relates to the politics. Politics is involved in a lot of stuff. And I have to again give credit to Alfonso David, who was on top of this for a long time. Even when he became the counsel to the governor, he still stayed with it to really begin to create a situation where the MWBE meant something, because when it first started, as you probably know, it was in many cases women, men in dresses. That was the term that it was used, because a lot of times the people who really needed the assistance didn't really get it. And that's the people of color in many cases, and some women who did not have a husband that was in a business that could just transfer to them. But I must say, at least in 2018, 19, there was a really interesting change going on where people who had been working all along, but for some reason, I don't know whether it was the beginning of the Me Too movement or the beginning of a certain type of awareness, but things started to change. Unfortunately, we had a pandemic, and things kind of went every place as it stands. And now it's coming back again. So that's another kind of weight that is on your shoulders. And after talking to you briefly, I am very comfortable that you are able to challenge, because if you are as effective as your presentation, I think that we're in good hands. But you mentioned that there were some new things. What will businesses expect this year coming up to Albany?
Yeah, for sure. And again, really, really excited about the forum. It's definitely going to be, like you just mentioned, Tony, a really great opportunity for MWBEs to connect with those decision makers. So one of the big highlights, and we do this every single year, and whenever we do a survey, we always get this back as this was the best part of the forum. It's actually our exhibit hall. I know sometimes exhibit halls don't sound exciting, but at the forum, the exhibit hall is very much exciting. So again, the large emphasis is on relationship building and networking. So in the exhibit hall, MWBEs will be able to meet with state agencies, authorities, private companies. We're also instituting a new portion of the forum that really revolves around access to capital. So that's one of the pain points that a lot of times we're seeing with MWBEs and with small businesses. So we are actually going to make sure there is interactive programming around access to capital, including a special networking hour, specifically with banks and community lenders that are local to the different regions. So that's another new feature of the program this year. And also, last year we had a gala. This year we are going to have a reception where we are actually awarding and recognizing our MWBE champions. So this is really an amazing opportunity for us to recognize MWBEs throughout the region, state agencies, authorities. We're also going to have our Lifetime Achievement Award. Last year, that actually went to Senator Ruth Hassel Thompson. So we're excited that we'll have a new Lifetime Achievement awardee again this year. And in addition to that, we do focus a lot of our efforts for the forum around subject matter experts. So we really thought through, what do MWBEs want to hear? What information do they want to receive? Who is it that they want to connect to? So throughout the 2 days, again, October 6th and 7th at the Albany Capitol Center, we will feature many panels that touch on various topics from, the cannabis industry, renewable energy, also just general conversational topics like how are MWBEs perceived and what does equity versus equality mean? So really, really great topics that we're going to be covering at the forum. And Tony, again, like you mentioned, the greatest feature is the ability to build those relationships, because those relationships really do translate into business growth at the end. And we want to make sure our MWBEs get that. So again, for everyone, nysmwbeforum.org, definitely visit and purchase your tickets.
And again, and I can personally, my cousin is the publisher of the Harlem Community News. And one of the things that I know for a fact is that those workshops are great, but when the expo, we were able to, for many years, create good relationships in the business to help our paper by going to the expo. Matter of fact, some people stay more time in the expo than some of the seminars, which is not necessarily something that I'm advising, but it's just that one of the interesting things, even with the expo, the people who are there also are people who can make decisions and that you can have a little bit more time with if you're early. I mean, once it gets crowded, it's very hard to do. And as they say, the early bird always gets the worm. But the early and sometimes after it, but most of the time people are tired after, so they're not necessarily going to be as active. But you can be one of the first people in there. It is well worth the time to be online to make sure that when it opens, you're there, because you get people who are fresh. Usually you get the senior people there because after a while they leave to go into some of the seminars. And you can do a lot of business in the expo. A lot of times when people hear about expo, it's something that they're going to have to give, or whether there's money or whatever. In this, the expo is something that you receive. It's something that you're able to take with you, and the relationships. Everything is about relationships.
I agree.
And there are people who probably have been able to get contracts and jobs based on the fact that they have developed a relationship to find somebody who knew somebody who could say this person is a good person to look at. So uh, I just am very happy that we've had an opportunity to talk to each other. But can you give, without telling all of the, what does the days look like on the 6th? Is there an opening ceremony, or is there? I know that we used to have opening ceremony, and the governor or lieutenant governor, someone would come and address people, and then we would go into sessions most of the day. Uh, what does the day look like? Days.
Yeah, for sure. And I do want to point again, folks, to nysmwbeforum.org. There's a full schedule of the forum that you can download for both days, October 6th and 7th. But Tony, you are correct. First, we do want to kick off with breakfast. We're starting very early in the morning, so at 8 a.m. And then after that, we will have opening remarks, potentially from some of our ESD leadership for the day one. And then from there, we go into our subject matter experts within the different panels. And then we also break for networking, so an opportunity to visit
Very
the
important.
hall. Yes, walk around, make your connections. So that is happening. And we'll also have that special networking hour that is focused on access to capital. And then on day one, we are hosting our, what we're calling the governor's reception and awards ceremony. So remarks will be made either by the governor or the lieutenant governor on that day. And the day is long. It goes up until 9. So it's going to be a long, it's going to be a long and fun, informative, really great day one of the forum. And then day 2, it's basically going to run very similar, except that the reception won't happen on that day. And we understand that it's Friday, and most folks will want to finish up networking and make their ways back home. But basically, that's the general lineup for both days of the forum.
Now, if someone would like to get more information about what you do, but before I do that, it's something that I forgot to mention, and I would like to mention it. Even if you're not a MWBE, if you're a business, even if you don't have a business, you're thinking about starting a business, this is still a very, very good place to be, because you can actually, if you have an idea that you want to do something and you pretty much know what it is, you could, be a handyman, you could be a mechanic, there are people there who can kind of give you an understanding as to what is real for you and what is not. So it's valuable. A lot of people believe, well, I'm not an MWBE, I don't think this is going to be for me, but that's not true. Just because it's the MWBE forum, even if you don't have a business, if you're thinking about going into business, this is also a very valuable exercise that have well worth whatever the fees are. And it's great because sometimes we'll only be able to spend a day. So it's excellent that most of the things that you're talking about will happen on that first day, which is what I kind of thought, but I just wanted to make sure that you can say that so that it's worthwhile. I mean, I have in many cases got there early in the morning and left there late at night, because that first day, if you are creative, you can do what you need to do. The second day is firming up things, but especially if you're focused and you have a certain thing that you want to do. But give the viewers just one more time how they can reach you. for those seminars and the things that you do regularly. And at one point, I think I mentioned to you, Soul City TV might be able to do something next year as relates to doing some different types of broadcasts based on some of the things. That's why I wanted you to be on, you know, I, so that you can kind of see how this works. There may be some other things that we can do that has not been done before. This is a new avenue for streaming that is just beginning to come about. So you're a pioneer. Nevertheless, give listeners a little bit of the contact information before we let you go, because I know that you got a lot on your plate.
Yes, for sure. And Tony, thank you for making the point around, before I share contact information, around the businesses that can attend the forum. You don't have to be MWBE certified by the state. You can be a entrepreneur that has an idea and you want to attend. You're kind of being the early bird in many cases in that way. You don't have to be certified. You can be a business owner and you can attend the New York State MWBE forum. So Tony, thank you for making that point. In terms of our division, again, the New York State Division of Minority and Women's Business Development, you can always reach my unit, and I'll just share the email address, and I hope it's pretty easy for folks to catch, but it is MWBE Business DEV. So not the full word development, but MWBE Business Dev, DEV, at esd.ny.gov. So it's myself, an amazing team of about 4 different business development analysts. So we would be happy to support and help and empower you in any way that we can. We do very, very much care about our MWBE community, and we want to make sure that our MWBEs continue to prosper, continue to grow, and continue to really build legacies that can then, branch off into other family members. So again, MWBE Business Dev at esd.ny.gov. And for the forum, I'll just say it one more time, nysmwbeforum.org. Please visit to get more information about the forum and also to purchase your tickets.
And if you actually Google MWBE state, everything the cookies will bring you. I guess that's the term. Will bring you into it. I would also, before I let you go, give a shout out to Jerome Duval, who we will be talking to again. And I also Sheila Swelling. I always like to talk to people who are as devoted as you. And so far, you're the 3 people that I've been working with under this new administration. And I have to make sure that people have their names, because they're people who are very important. Thank you so much, Dalsie. It was a pleasure. I look forward to an ongoing relationship with you. There are many things I believe that we can do through Soul City TV, or WACR, or Holland Community News to continue to help you do the things that you're doing. And again, for the listeners who may be coming in, this interview will be posted on the Greater Harlem Chamber of Commerce's Facebook page, as well as the Harlem Tourism Board's page. So you'll be able to catch this, and you can be able to see how well you did.
I don't know if I'll watch, but Tony, I just want to say thank you so much. And again, I'm really glad that we met. I'm looking forward to us continuing a partnership together, and just thank you again for even having this platform where not just me, but other folks can come on and talk to folks in the community about what we're doing, and hopefully it resonates with a lot of people. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Well, you're doing good work. It's important. One of the worst things, obviously there's a lot more work to be done for MWBEs, but the worst thing is for things to happen like this forum and nobody knows about it. So that's why communication is very important. That's why Matt McCoy, Soul City TV, I am so happy that he's taken the leap into faith to develop this type of forum so that we can control our narrative and we can have people like you on to do what you just did so very well. Take care, and we will be in contact. And you're not going to be a stranger now that you do so well. You know, we might have to do make a program for you. Thank you so much, Dalsie.
Tony, thank
There,
you
there may
so,
be
so much.
another,
Much
there may be
appreciated.
another. This may be the beginning of a new career here. You never know.
I, you know what? We shall see. We shall see. All right. Thank you so much.
Take care, and we'll be
All right.
talking to you again. Please make sure that if you are listening and you're a small business or you have friends, relatives who are in small business, the MWBE forum, which is October the 6th in Albany, is a very good place to be. A lot of contacts, a lot of uh, and one of the things, as I had mentioned before, many of the people there, actually all of the people there at some point or another, are decision makers. There are other people there, but you will have an opportunity to talk to the commissioner of this or the head of this agency or department. So it's a tremendous opportunity to take advantage of. I would also like to uh, as many know, this is Latinx Heritage Week. That's a new word that I've learned. Uh, Latinx. It talks about Latinos or Latinas in one word in a sense, so there's gender free. So that's something that's new. I know that because the current Harlem Community News, we are saluting the Latinx on Broadway, which are a number of them. We've done a number of things with Blacks on Broadway, but in and I don't know whether you can see this, but this is the Harlem Community News, and if you have a chance, pick that up. It uh, gives a great representation of Hispanic performers on Broadway. The other thing that I also would like to take a minute to talk about is, as you know, the Harlem Tourism Board is scheduling another trip to Senegal in December the 8th to the 15th. And we are only taking 15 people. So if you're interested at all, please uh, give me a call if you're hearing this directly at 917-821-7099, and I will make sure that I provide you with information, or you can send me an email at the Harlem Tourism Board at gmail.com. It's a very passionate thing that I have, is trying to make sure, especially African and Caribbean Americans, are able to start coming home, the awakening of the diaspora. And speaking of which, I would like to send my prayers to brothers and sisters in the Dominican Republic and in Puerto Rico. As you probably know, they are undergoing some very, very severe weather and flooding, and my prayers go out to them. It is something that we don't always understand as it relates to the African and the Caribbean communities, but we're we're African, and sometimes I talk about this more than perhaps I should, but it's very important for us to understand first the African American and the Caribbean American, and which includes the Latinx community. That many of us have relatives that came out of Goree Island, which means that that we are African by heritage, first generation Greeks and fourth generation Greeks consider themselves of being Greek, as well as every other nationality. And I think that's important for us as far as young people. Lastly, I would like to commend Chancellor David Banks and Mayor Mayor Adams for a program that I write about actually in the same issue about dyslexia. It is something that has never really been addressed as it should. About 20% of every person in America suffer from dyslexia. That is when the words do not always, you can't get the sound, so there's spelling, there's reading problems, sometimes pronunciation problems, dealing with new languages. And for many years, and I know because I realized that, which is part of my article, no need to be ashamed of dyslexia, even though I've really talked about it, but I realized that I suffered from dyslexia when I was in college. And the interesting thing about it is that many of the people who have this issue has nothing to do with intelligence. Albert Einstein had dyslexia. There's so many very, very intelligent, creative people that had this issue, because and it has nothing to do with your intelligence. But as young children, and I was one of them, you can get teased. Your self-esteem can be challenged, and people may consider you dumb or uneducated, no matter how much education you might have, because of this issue that has nothing to do with intelligence. So there's a new program now that New York DOE has put together because our mayor, maybe not the only reason, but he has also suffered and suffers from dyslexia. And it will allow for young people to be viewed differently. I truly believe the public school systems always have had issues. And I'm sure many of the dropouts, many of the issues that young people have had is because this lack of self-esteem, especially if they have suffered from dyslexia and their reading or their spelling or their speech or many of the things that people, quote unquote, who are smart or educated can do easy, there may be a challenge there. And when that can be identified and people can start to at least understand that if the words get jumbled up when you're writing and it's hard, it has nothing to do with your intelligence. It's just an issue that your brain just operates in a different way. And you have to just do perhaps a little bit more. So I wanted to take the time to commend that, because you don't hear much about it. But if this program works, it can be, especially in urban areas, especially with young people who might not have the support that they might need, whether it's family or or certain guidance from teachers or the like, who may be suffering from something that has nothing to do with their intelligence, but with them, it might seem that that is the case, and they might decide not to go to school and not to feel good about themselves. And this can change that if done correctly. I decided to write about it. I never really, this is the first time I'm publicly talking about it, but after doing the research and writing about it and understanding it from my own personal experiences, I think this may very well be one of the really important things that comes out of the Adams administration. It's the first, it will be the largest program in the country dealing with this issue. And I really feel that it's going to make a difference. I think that that's about it. Please call again or send an email to me, 917-821-7099, or the Harlem Tourism Board at gmail.com if you're interested in going to Senegal. And if God willing, we will be back next week with another show. I would like to thank Matt McCoy and the Soul City team for providing this platform, giving an opportunity for me to bring people on that may be helpful to you. So this is Tony Rogers, thanking you for listening, and we'll see you next week. Take care. Bye.
This is Kia Rogers, and you're listening to Urbanology with my dad, Tony Rogers, on WHCR 90.3 FM New York.
Urbanology.